Hi guys, welcome back. This is part 11 of the troll video. In this video we are starting to assemble this little guy. So we're going to sew in his feet, we're going to assemble the overalls, we're going to sew in his tail and add some buttons, all in that order. And I do things in a certain order for a reason, so to get the best results for your little guy, please follow the same order. So let's sew this together now. Okay, so I'm going to let you in on a little secret. These are sewn on differently than you would imagine they were. His feet are attached to the bottom of his overalls. And I did it that way because many months ago when I first designed this troll, I was just playing around. And when I made the overalls, I wasn't really sure how I was going to get his overalls to fit his fat little body with his feet stuck so close to his body. So this is what I came up with. If we do it this way, the overalls have a really cute look to them on the side. Now I could have made more rounds or more rows on the overalls and made them longer, but then I'm messing with the design and then they won't look like they did when I first made them. Our big toe, just stretch it out on the one side. This is all I do for them and they look like they have right and left feet. See, just by stretching. Make sure that that back is in the center, the bib is in the center, and I just lay them over the feet. Just like that. So there's going to be a foot on each side. Take a length of yarn the same color as your overalls. Thread it with your yarn needle. Then we're going to sew the overalls onto the foot. So there's one on each side. See where that center crease is? And nice and straight, so that foot is straight in front like that. There's the bib. And it's really quite simple. I think what it is, it just feels a little bit awkward when you first start because it's not like the normal way you sew on amigurumi. Usually you just sew their feet on, right? But I don't know, just like to switch things up every once in a while. Do things a little bit differently. I'm going to go back over the other way. Okay, I'm going to knot these two off. These two yarn tails. Knot them off, double knot. See the front sewed on already? Now we're just going to do the back. We want a little bit of space between, just like that. Now just go underneath. And now whip stitch the other side. Now I'm going to go back across. Alright, so knot off here. Just go next door, make a loop, and before you bring it all the way through, just go through that loop. And don't cut any yarn tails yet. Just try on your little guy. Look at that. Perfect. And I like this little bit here. Okay, let's do the other one. Okay, I'm just going to use a new yarn tail. Get my foot on there. Okay, and the most difficult part about this side is just a little bit more awkward to hold. And you want to make sure that they're even, right? You want to take the time to make sure your feet are evenly spaced so that the overalls don't look all wonky once you got them on. So just stop and take the time to readjust things as you go. Go into the foot and come up on the other side. Take a moment and make sure those little feet make me giggle. Okay, it's perfect. It's perfect. Alright guys, let's get rid of our yarn tails. So all we have to do, just make sure that they're knotted off before you take them anywhere. Okay, I'm just going to bring it through. And cut it free. And I'll do that with all of them. Just make sure they're knotted off before you carry them through anywhere. Okay, now we're going to sew on our straps, and we can put buttons on after the straps are sewn on. Okay, I will do the front first, and they go in the back. Okay, I'm using that one yarn tail that we left there for sewing. You got to put a number of stitches in, otherwise, they start to pull free. Now we can knot up. And weave the yarn tail through and cut it free. Okay guys, and there's a method to my madness. So we have the yarn tail at this end. We're going to wait for a minute. We're going to sew on the other one first, and we're going to use the yarn tail that we left there for sewing and sew it onto the front. And cut free. So now we can use this other yarn tail, if yours is long enough, to sew both of these on, both the back straps. So when we put them on, they are going to crisscross. They're going to crisscross on either side of that seam. Okay, so I'm going to get the first one in. We can use this yarn tail to sew both straps on. And if yours isn't long enough, don't worry, just cut a length of yarn and do it that way. Make sure it's nice and secure. Okay, and now weave it over to the other side. Now cross the other one. Make sure it's not twisted. I just go on either side of that seam. So next we'll sew its arms in place, and it's just a matter of whip stitching the top of the arm just underneath the neck. And always make sure that you're happy with placement before you start sewing, because it's a real pain to undo yarn stitches for sure. Okay, so I'm just going to hold it in place, and I'm going to whip stitch across the top. Okay, I don't like that corner sticking up, so I'm going to make sure I sew that down. check it out. Alright, now that I'm happy with his arms, I will knot off back here, just anywhere. Just wrap around a stitch post. Pull it through. Before going all the way through, just go through that loop. And then pull it. Now you can bring it through anywhere. Pull on it slightly and cut. Okay, now we can sew on his tail. Let's get his overalls on. Just make sure you have everything positioned right and that he stands up straight. Okay, so once I'm happy with that, I'll get my tail ready. Now if you just want to take note of where the tail should go, because it's going to go right in between those crisscross, you can take a pin and just mark it off, because that's exactly where we want the tail. And then we can remove these, or you can sew right through that hole, whatever's easiest for you. Okay, and now I know my tail is going to go right there, so I'll take that out and I'll sew my tail in place. Okay, now you can just knot off anywhere. I don't think that did anything. And then carry this through anywhere. Pull on it slightly and cut. Okay, so we're going to have to get this in between the crisscrosses. There we go. And then we can put his arms in. Alright guys, let's put some buttons on these overalls. Now you can totally leave them off. I think they look just as cute without buttons, but if you want buttons, then let's do that. Okay, there's two ways. You can glue them on, or you can sew them on. Sewing them on makes them look a lot nicer. These ones you can see the glue through the little buttonholes, and I don't really like that. But I believe I used hot glue on here. Hot glue, once it touches yarn, will not come off, so you got to be very, very careful. If you put hot glue, put it very in the center and then push it on. If you put hot glue all around the button and then push it on, it's going to ooze out the sides and you'll never get rid of that look. Or you can use fabric tack, I believe it's called, fabric tack or fabric fusion. But let's sew them on, that's pretty simple too. Alright, the problem with sewing with yarn is you probably won't get your yarn needle through your buttonhole, so I've got a little trick for that. Make a loop, get a sewing needle and make a loop with some sewing thread. Pull your yarn through that loop. So come up from behind the button, and then you can crisscross them. Over. And then back up. And down. So there, we have threaded our buttons and we're ready to sew them onto the overalls. Now you can just knot these off in the back and then weave in the yarn tails. And if you want to make them extra secure, like if this is going to a child, you want to make this extra secure, you can add a little dab of glue back there before you pull the button in tight, and then you'll have double security. You'll have the yarn plus the glue. So that brings us to the end of this video. We'll head into the next one where we'll sew on his ears and give him some hair. I'll see you over there.